Hey guys, I'm here doing your quick quiz review for tomorrow. It's actually going to be a test grade, but don't worry, it's actually pretty easy, so it's going to be a good thing that it is a test grade. Look, I have one person here. Say hi, Kelvin.
Hi, people.
Hi, look at his beautiful eyebrows.
Oh
we did
my
them during
gosh.
6th period, so they look fabulous. So now, let's get on to what we're here for. Now that we're done with Kelvin, because he's all embarrassed. Now for problem number 1, you're going to be given just this graph right here. So just the graph. You're not going to be given the equation. You're having to solve for the equation. So in order to do that, you need to figure out your center point, what coordinate that is. And I'm sorry, yes, my circle looks like a square, but it's supposed to be a circle. The center is going to be located at, you're going to go to the right 2, and then down 2. So your center is at 2, -2. And your radius, you're going to count out from that center point all the way to one edge of the circle. In that case, your radius is going to be 3. So then you're going to use this formula right here to write out your equation. So in this case, it is x minus 2 squared plus y minus -2, or y plus 2 squared, equals our radius squared, which is 3 squared, which would equal 9. So easy as that. For number 2, we are given just a center point, or a center coordinate of x and y, and then a radius. So then again, we're just going to use that circle equation right there, which in this case, it's going to be x minus 4 squared plus y minus -2, or y plus 2 squared, equals 4 squared, which is 16. And that is all. Now for this one here, I'm just going to make you do the distance formula. No midpoint formula in this one, so just distance. For number 3, we're given a center coordinate at 3, 2, and an endpoint at 1, 4. So I went in here and wrote in green, which is the distance formula. It's d equals the square root of x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. So all we're going to do is take that 3, subtract it from 1, and square that number. Then take 2, subtract it from 4, and square that number as well. So we get 2 squared plus -2 squared. Or on the third line, it is 4 plus 4, which is the square root of 16. The square root of 16 is 4. So then what we're going to do is use that center set of coordinates, and then the answer from the distance formula, or our radius, which is 4, and we get x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 16. So that is all part of 9-1. So now that was circles. Now for 9-2, we are moving on to parabolas. Remember, it's going to either open up, down, left, or right. In this case, you're going to be given the formula or the equation, and then what you're going to have to do is figure out your vertex, your axis of symmetry, your focus, your directrix, and then you will have to graph it. So in this case, we have x equals -4y. So you're going to take that -4 and set it equal to 4p. Remember, it's always 4p. So then you're going to divide them both by +4, and you're going to get your p of -1. So since we do not have a number after the x or a number after the y in the equation, your vertex is going to automatically be at 0, 0, which means your axis of symmetry is going to be at x equals 0 as well. Your focus, since we figured out that the p is -1, your focus is going to be at 0, -1. Oh, Kelvin's got to leave. Everybody say bye, Kelvin. Bye. See you tomorrow. Okay, so since our focus was at, you have a good day too. Since our focus was at 0, -1, remember that it is always the opposite direction and the same amount of your p-value for our directrix. So since we have the focus, which is right here, at -1, we have to go here to +1 to get that directrix. So our directrix is y equals 1. Now for number 5, in this case we're given a little more complex of a equation, but we're going to do the same exact thing. In this case, since it is at y equals, it's going to be opening either left or right. So we have y minus 2 squared equals 4 times x minus 1. So what we're going to do is use that 4 and set it equal to 4p. We're going to divide them both by 4, so we get p equals 1. For our vertex, we have x minus 1. So if we were to solve for x, we would get a positive 1. So that's the first value for our vertex. And then the same thing with that y minus 2. Set it equal to 0 and then solve for y. So we would get positive 2, which is the second part of our vertex answer. So we have 1, 2. So our axis of symmetry, in order to cut this in half, would be y equals 1. Our focus in this case is going to be 2, 2, because we have to go from the vertex over to the right 1, which is going to make it 2, 2. And then if we had to go over to the right 1 from the vertex to get our focus, we have to go to the left 1 for our directrix, which puts it at x equals 0. And then from there, you can draw your graph. Now we are done with drawing graphs. For 9.3, we were writing the equation. So in this case, we are given the graph, and then from there, we have to formulate the equation. So for this one, we have the graph here, and as you can see, it is horizontal, and it's going to open to the left. So what you need to first do is find that center dot right here in red, which is right there. You have to figure out what point that is so you can figure out your vertex. In this case, it is at 3, -2. So that's going to be your vertex. Then from there, what you have to do is figure out your focus, which again is going to be this first dot right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to count from here. You're going left 2. So your p value is going to be equal to -2. And then remember how I said you're going to be kind of working backwards from how you were doing at this problem. You were starting at setting it equal to 4p and then solving for p. Here you're starting at p and then you have to set it equal to 4p. So what you're going to do is multiply that 4 in the 4p times -2. So you get 4 times -2, which will give you -8. So that is what you're going to use in your equation. You're going to use the vertex and that answer to the right of 4p. So in this case, you get, we have to set it equal to y because it's opening horizontally to the left. So it's going to be y minus -2 or y plus 2 squared equals, we're taking that -8 from right here and putting it into the equation. So it's equals -8 times x minus 3. Okay, now let's go on to number 7. In this case, you are given a vertex and a focus, and you've got to figure out your equation. So we know our vertex is going to be at 0, 0, and our focus is at 3, 0, which means that it has to open, it's got to be horizontal and open to the right. So if you draw out, remember how I said in the lessons, if you draw out a graph and you mark your points, the vertex and the focus, that'll tell you right there which way it's going to open. So in this case, our p value, since it's going from 0 to +3, our p is going to equal 3 as well. So then again, we're going to work backwards, set it equal to 4p, take that 4, multiply it by 3, and you get 12. So since our vertex is at 0, 0, we're just going to have y squared on the left. We're going to get rid of, it would normally be y minus 0 squared, but that 0 is redundant. We don't need that in the equation. So it's going to be y squared equals 12, because we found that out when we set it equal to 4p. So that's where that comes from. and then it's going to be multiplied by x, again because we don't need that minus 0 at the end. So that's your answer there. If we go on to number 8, this time we are given a vertex and a directrix. So in the last one we had a focus. So in this time we're going to the opposite side of the graph with the directrix. So again, we're given a vertex. It's going to be -2, comma, -2. And the directrix is going to be y equals -6. Again, if it's easier, plot that on your graph really quick. Just draw a graph off to the left like I was doing in the notes. Plot your vertex and plot your directrix. So that way it'll tell you really quickly which way it is opening, if it's vertical or horizontal, and if it's going to be up, down, left, or right. So in this case, we're going to have a vertical graph that opens up. So then we need to figure out our p-value. In order to do this, you have to start at -6 and then count how many units you would move to get to -2. In this case, you're going to be moving up 4 units. So that is why our p equals 4. So then again, you're going to set it equal to 4p, multiply 4 times 4, and you get 16. So again, you're going to use the 16 and the vertex in your answer. So since it's vertical, it's going to be x equals. So it's x minus -2 or x plus 2 squared equals 16 times y minus -2, which would change to y plus 2. Last but not least, yes, we only have 9 problems this time. So it's going to be a shorter one. We normally have 12. This case, you have a focus and a directrix. So you have one end of the graph and the other end of the graph. What you need to do is find the middle coordinate, which is going to be your vertex. So you are given a focus at 4, 0 and a directrix at x equals -4. So what you need to do in order to figure that out is you need to take this 4 right here and add it to the -4 here. So it's going to be 4 plus -4, and then you have to divide it by 2 to find that halfway point. That would give you 0/2, which would just equal 0. So your vertex right here is going to be at 0, 0. So you would just be replacing this number here with 0 to give you the vertex of 0, 0. Because remember, they have to all line up. So if you plotted that on your graph really quick, you would find that it is going to be a horizontal graph that opens right. So then what you need to do is figure out to get to from your vertex to your focus of 4. That is going to be a difference of 4 units. So that is why p equals 4. Then set it equal to 4p. Multiply, again, this 4 times this 4. That's going to give you 16. So now remember, to do your equations, all you need is this value here and your vertex. Don't need the directrix, you don't need the focus, you need the vertex. So what you're going to do is get, because it's horizontal, it's going to be y equals. In this case, it's going to be y squared equals 16, we're taking that there, times x. And again, remember, because you have that vertex of 0, 0, you do not need the y minus 0 squared or the x minus 0 at the end. You can knock those off because they are redundant. So it's just y squared equals 16x. Okay, so that is all for your quiz review. So again, here's a look at all of your problems. They will be on the board tomorrow, so don't worry. And I will actually let you use this video tomorrow for our last test. Now don't forget also your makeup packets or your test packets, your projects are due tomorrow. You have had over a week to work on them, so do not cry to me tomorrow. And last but not least, do not forget, if you want to go on the field trip, which I really, really hope you can because it's going to be so much fun, the permission forms and the payments are due tomorrow. I'm not allowed to take them a day later, and that is coming from bookkeeping. And if your parent is going to be paying by check, make sure that they make it out to Harmony High School and make sure that they write their driver's license and a phone number at the top of the check, And then on that memo line at the bottom left, make sure they put your name so we know that is going to be for you. Okay, so I will see you guys tomorrow. Remember to go over this. I will have all of this up tomorrow for the test, and you will have all period, and this time it's only 9 problems. All right, guys, have a good day. I will see you tomorrow.